Hello fellow embroidery people, welcome back to the channel. Today's project is a key tag with a puffy do not sign on it. There we go. And yes, this one has a design in it. It's a little bit poop with some flies in there. So this is the one that we're going to be doing today. And it's using a puffy foam inside of the do not sign. And the foam that I'm using today is the 3mm foam. It's kind of like this. And you can also use a 2mm foam, which you can get at any store. They're the crafting ones. Now, as you can see here, there is really not that much difference. I mean, 1mm difference between the 3 and the 2. So that's what they look like that. And I'm not sure there's that much difference in between these when you're just touching it and holding it. They both feel raised. This one feels slightly more raised and a little stiffer, but I think the 2 also really does the job very well of making the raised look on here. All right, so let's get started with this project for today. All right, so what we need for today's project is 2 pieces of vinyl, one for the front, one for the back. You need the hardware to put on the tab afterwards. So we have the key ring here, and then we have a rivet. And so what I use is a 9mm double cap rivet. There's the one cap, there's the other one. And the post length is roughly around 9 to 10 inches. We need a piece of foam. I have here a 3mm thick foam, but you can use craft foam that's 2mm thick as well. And we have a hoop with cutaway stabilizer. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do the placement stitch on the stabilizer. So here we have the placement stitch done. And you guys, it is so important to do the placement stitch on the stabilizer and not just put the material down and run the placement stitch, because it will never line up with the finishing bean stitch. I see that done quite often. So you run the placement stitch on the stabilizer itself. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to get the front material, and we are going to put it down over top here, tape it into place. And now we're going to take this back to the hoop, and we are going to run on this particular one, we're going to run the poop design and the flies before we do the red. All right, for the next step, we're going to be putting the piece of foam onto the design. There is no placement stitch for the foam because it goes over the whole circle pretty much. So you just place this where the circle line is on the placement stitching. Just look underneath. And then you can tape it down, and we run the next stitch on top of this. All right, so we have that stitching done. And something that I didn't mention was that you should use the same color foam as you're using for the stitching. That way, any little pieces that are left of the foam afterwards, you won't really see in the stitching as long as it's the same color. So now we're going to take the foam off, and it is actually fairly easy, quite easy to take it off as long as you've done it right. You don't stick it down anyway. Oh, it just tears off like that. And then, as you can see, I hope, see, there are these tiny little bits left. So they're not that noticeable, but you may see them if you use a different color. All right, and so one of the ways that we get rid of those little bits that we can see is we kind of melt them a little bit. So I've done that on this one, and you can see it looks a lot cleaner. And what you do is you use some sort of a heat gun. I have a embossing heat tool here that is like 25 years old, but it still works. Because it's foam, you do not want to hold the heat source close to it, and you don't want to hold it on there for very long. You kind of want to just do a little bit. Because it's foam, it will melt, or it will shrivel up, or it will curl if heated too long. All right, so I hope you can see the difference after doing that. It gives it a lot nicer of a finish. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we need to do the outline of it. And so what you do is you turn your hoop over to the back, and you put your piece of material on the back with the right side facing up, and you tape that in place. Now, if you have a machine that likes to stick, because these single needles aren't always the best for gliding across the machine properly, the one thing that you can do is you can, something that I do is I add a little piece to the edge here, not the part that goes in the machine, but the other one. So it kind of levels it off a little bit, and it helps that this doesn't stick. This is a fairly smooth vinyl, so it doesn't usually stick. Or you could also put a piece of tracing paper or water-soluble stabilizer, anything like that. All right, so now we take it back to the machine, and we are going to do the outline. And here we have it, the design is done. So we can go ahead and take this out of the hoop, and we can cut around the bean stitching. All right, so here is the finished one, and all we have to do next is to add the little bits. So you punch the holes there, and you put your rivet in, and you put your key ring on, and then you will be done. So I really hope that you like this project. It is so quick and easy to do, and the foam really isn't all that scary. So this one has a 2mm foam in it, and then this one has a 3mm. So you can tell there really isn't all that much difference in the two of them. There's a little bit of height difference, but do you really see the millimeter? I'm not really sure. All right, so thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back for some more tutorials. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.